With the 2024 NFL season just around the corner, it's time to launch our latest power rankings, including all 32 NFL teams heading into week 1. Let's waste no time and start right away with the New England Patriots at number 32. Look, on the bright side, Drake May does look like the future of this organization, but he's not the starter. Still outside of that, this team remains in rebuilding mode, and this season may still be a tank situation to try and get a better roster moving forward. At number 31, we have the Giants. They don't really have a terrible team, but they have pretty much no superstars whatsoever. Daniel Jones is a terrible QB, and because of that, I think they could potentially have a terrible season in order to get a franchise signal caller in next year's draft. Moving on are the Panthers. They were the worst team in the NFL last season, so even if I wanted to, I wouldn't be able to rank them any higher up. This team definitely has some potential, but so far we haven't seen anything, so they remain near the bottom of the league as of right now. Up next are the Broncos. Bo Nix looked amazing during the preseason, so the future may be brighter for them than we expected. However, this is still far from a playoff team, and it still needs some development in order to move further up the rankings. In 28th place are the Commanders. This roster doesn't really shine anywhere, but it's not completely terrible when you look at it. They have some potential to be a solid team, but they are the pure definition of unproven, so I cannot really rank them any higher up just yet. Moving on, we have the Raiders. They honestly seem like a rather mid team, not having anything special, but it's not like they're terrible either. They could and surely will win a couple games here and there, but as I've said before, this is most certainly a transition year for them. Now at number 26, the Arizona Cardinals. I think they are honestly much better than most fans think, but to be fair, they are quite unproven. The talent is there to be a top 15 team, but they just have to execute before modifying any rankings. Up next, we have the Titans. This team is on the edge of falling near the bottom of the league, but at the same time, it does have the pieces to develop as a strong contender. I think 2024 will be an important year for them to determine their future, but so far it is uncertain how good they will actually be. Moving on are the Vikings. Having Sam Darnold as your starting quarterback will only get you so far, even whilst having Justin Jefferson. This team has a solid roster, but I think they will have a mediocre season in order to build around JJ McCarthy from 2025 onwards. On to number 23, the New Orleans Saints. They have a couple of really good players here and there, but have been lacking the execution for a while now. There's talent, but there's honestly nothing that leads me to believe this team is a playoff contender. In 22nd place, then are the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh could be the guy to finally take Justin Herbert to some sort of success, or he could very well fail drastically. This roster is honestly on the lower end of the rankings, but one never knows what can actually happen. Moving on, we have the Buccaneers. They have the talent to win their division, but it's going to be way tougher than it was last season. I would say this is a good team, but they are still missing some key players and chemistry to actually take the next step. At number 20 are the Seahawks. They slightly declined last year, and there is nothing that shows me they'll be any better in 2024. Their defense seems to be on another level, but the rest of the team will probably keep them from building their full potential. Up next, we have the Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams may after all be Chicago's savior and get this team to the postseason. However, nothing has been proven just yet, so for me they are sitting in the middle of the rankings until we see some actual regular season action. In 18th place are the Colts. I feel like they improved during the offseason, and they are also getting a couple players back from injury. Indy could very well be fighting for the division, and although I don't think they'll win it, they could most certainly sneak in as a wildcard into the postseason. Moving on are the Jaguars. They have a solid team, and last year they looked incredible at one point in the season. However, it appears to me as if the chemistry isn't really developed, and this team has a lot to learn, but still could very well fight the Texans for the division crown. Now at number 16, the Cleveland Browns. They have an insanely good roster, and they are getting a lot of players back from injuries this year. However, I don't really buy the hype for them, especially given their lack of success. But hey, let's see if they're anything more than a borderline playoff team. Moving on are the Falcons. They improved a lot during the offseason, mainly by bringing in Kirk Cousins to help with the passing game. This team is in prime position to win their division, and although they don't seem as a top tier team just yet, they could be sneaky good come January. On to number 14, the LA Rams. They could potentially fight for the division, but I don't think they have the game to actually win it. However, they should be at least able to go back into the playoffs with such a talented roster. Up next, we have the Jets. I feel like they are kind of overhyped, but I do believe they have an insanely good team. They haven't been successful, so I'm sort of doubtful when it comes to them, but let's be real, they should make the playoffs without too much trouble with their talent. In 12th position, we then have the Steelers. They have an incredibly tough schedule, but so was the case last year and they won 10 games. They are somewhat improved, so I think having them as a playoff team is only fair. Moving on are the Bills. They did decline during the offseason, but I don't think they'll take a meteoric fall most people expect them to. Buffalo can still fight for the division, and they can most definitely remain a threat for everyone any given Sunday. Heading now into the top 10 are the Bengals. They had a bad season last time around, but people forget how good this team actually is. They have the potential to be fighting for a Super Bowl, so I would honestly keep a close eye on them this year. In 9th place are the Dolphins. They are a rather balanced team and should be fighting for the division throughout the season. The potential is there, and last year was honestly a solid showing even though it ended poorly at the end. Moving on are the Dallas Cowboys. They are an incredibly good team, it's just that their playoff performances are always dull. They should be winning more than 10 games easily, but once it's playoff time, I'm not sure how much I trust them to pull through. Up next, we have the Packers. They ended the season as one of the strongest teams in the entire league, nearly getting to the conference championship. It could have definitely been a fluke, but I'm gonna go ahead and trust them, ranking them well inside the top 10 as of right now. At number 6, we have the Eagles. They ended last season in embarrassing fashion, but the improvements they made in the offseason could have said that for me. This team is insanely talented, it's just that they need to come up clutch when needed to in order to actually become top 5. Moving on are the Houston Texans. They were the breakout team in 2023, and I believe they will only improve this season. This team is absolutely stacked in every aspect, so fighting for a Super Bowl spot is a very reasonable goal for me. In 4th place are then the Ravens. They were insanely good last season until the playoffs came around. They added a couple of good players, so they should be running it back, fighting for the crown of the AFC in the process. Into the top 3 we go, Detroit Lions. They are entering what could be the best season in franchise history for them, so the hype and expectations are through the ceiling. Detroit has its best shot at a Super Bowl maybe ever, so don't be shocked if they climb all the way to the top by February. At number 2 we have the 49ers. I believe they have the best and most complete roster in the league. The Niners could be facing a Super Bowl hangover this season, but I don't really think it will be anywhere near enough to even slow them down. And in 1st place are the Kansas City Chiefs. They won back-to-back Super Bowls, so it's only fair they get the top spot. I don't think they'll end the season this high up, but at this point in time, I gotta give respect where it is due. So yeah, that concludes my first official power rankings of this season. Let me know in the comments what you think, and hopefully you stick around to watch some more of my videos.